Let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. We've got Jim on the line. He's ready to go. Is there any breaking news that you want to get in?
Nope.
I would think not, because that's generally not.
I got all kinds of things in my head, but
Right.
I think that the caller always takes precedence on the Under the Hood Show.
I don't know why I went with breaking news. We wouldn't do breaking news, really. I mean,
But
Broken news.
right?
There's broken news. I saw China said, keep our EVs at home. Don't export them and sell them in the United States. It won't work. So even they know it won't work.
I've become numb to breaking news because everything is breaking news.
Everything is breaking news.
So how do you break news when it's all broken?
Yeah.
Like
It's
Russ
really
said?
all broken breaking
news, and it's breaking all the time.
news.
So
That's a good point. Let's
break for this caller.
Let's
here.
hope that Jim can take us out of it. Jim, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Well, I just had my transmission rebuilt, and I've had like 3 other cars done with this guy. And the problem with the car is it's a 2003 Concord Limited with 190,000 miles on it.
That's the problem with the car?
No, it drives.
Okay.
Drives and it shifts perfectly. However, the speedometer and odometer don't register. In other words, it lights up with the miles, but they don't move. It says, however, the tach, the fuel gauge, and the temp work fine. I replaced the instrument cluster with a known working cluster. Got the same result.
Yep.
Do you have any ideas on that?
Yep. That body control module in that car runs all those items. And if we had problems with them, we'd swap this. Now, when you swap the speedometer, did the mileage on the new speedometer change to what the other one was, but still not move? Did anything change on it?
Oh, yeah.
See,
it stayed the same.
Yep. That's the body control module running that. And we had a lot of they're nearly impossible to find now. There are a few places that may rebuild one for you. There are a couple circuits that failed in them that were easily repairable, but you got to pull it out, ship it off to wherever you can find that does that.
Can I rewind the clock here just a second here? Because I want to make sure the answer that you gave us.
No, the clock's not moving. See, the clock stayed the same. That's
His
the issue.
odometer and mileage is not moving.
Thank you. Thank you for getting it.
I just want to ask the question again because I might have heard something different. You replaced the transmission, and after you replaced the transmission, it had to rebuild.
It was rebuilt.
Yep, you rebuilt the transmission.
No.
So the transmission came out of the vehicle, got rebuilt, got put back in the vehicle. Same transmission as far as you know, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And so
I can tell you what the guy did who did this work. He put a new computer, a new speed sensor, a new valve body and solenoid block, and so the problem is just the speedometer.
now, did he put that new computer and new speed sensor in as an effort after the transmission was rebuilt to make the speedometer work again?
Yes.
So that was his attempt, which would be a likely culprit to go look at that after you've just had the transmission out. All right, so just play that back again. I got that. So then you went ahead and you got a different known good cluster, and you put it in the car. And after you put it in, you had the same result. And what the question that Russ asked, I want to get the answer again on, is the mileage that showed up on the cluster that you put into the car, the second one, did it retain the mileage of the vehicle it came out of, or did it take the mileage on of your Concord that you just had the transmission rebuilt in?
Oh no, it retained the mileage of the car that it went in. The Chryslers, the way they build them, it's a separate thing.
No.
Replace the cluster.
So I think what the point Russ was trying to make that I didn't catch was that it did transfer into the new cluster. So at least that part of the body control module is working correctly. That's that pathway, because it was able to communicate and put that mileage into there like it would. So then I guess that's where Ruska was getting into his answer. I just wanted to replay that all. That just is unusual, but those cars were early technological geniuses, those LH cars. They put a lot of technology in those cars for that era when they came out with that body style, more so than probably other cars in that generation. It was kind of a forward cabin, forward thinking car.
Yeah.
I have 4 of them.
Well, not most
My oldest is a 99 LHS, and the others are all Concord Limited.
Most people don't have a spare cluster to swap.
That's true.
Well, if you've got other ones to swap, try swapping that body module out, because all that circuit runs right through that. We've had plenty of these that the odometer would stop on.
That's the valve body modular?
No, the body control module under the dash on the driver's side. Lots of problems with those we had.
And those are plug and play? I mean, there
should be, but you got to make sure that the models are the same. If they're the same part number on car X versus car Y, yes.
Because otherwise you can get into some trouble with ones that had a security mode. We ran into that with engine controllers in those. People would change them out, and one could have a security setting that the other one didn't have.
It might have security. Well, if both cars have security, it's either you have security or you don't. That type of thing.
But that would be something you haven't tried yet that could have just went wonky during the...
Because otherwise, if you pull the PCM out of the car without security, put it into this one with security, it's going to activate it, and you're going to put it back in the other one. It won't work.
Yeah, that's what we used to run into. I forgot that, Russ.
Well, he put a brand new one in, and they programmed it to the VIN number. It's a Mopar.
That's the engine control module. That's the engine control module. The body control module doesn't have that feature.
Okay, so the body control module is under the dash?
Right, left side of the dash. That controls the interior body functions. The speedometer, heating and air conditioning, all that.
Okay.
It's like the brains for the network of the inside of the car.
Yep.
All right. There we go. I'm both impressed and flummoxed by your clarification, because you were very...
I seldom clarify anything?
Well, you clarified, and the surprising part was you had it correct the entire way, and you were just clarifying that you had it correct, right?
Something. I'm not sure.
Does that help you out there, Jim?
Well, the body control module under the dash on the driver's side.
Yes.
So that's possibly it.
Possibly.
All right.
And since you have spares, if they're the same model,
and we're assuming that your mechanic, who sounds like he's given this quite an effort, that he did check the wiring and pin it out to make sure he had continuity and connection between the sensor and the wiring harness, the computer. The plugs are all good. Something didn't get stretched. Something didn't get pin bent. I would pull pins. I'd look. Anything that I unplugged and plugged in, I would reinspect, because that can be, when nothing else makes sense, it's usually wiring.
Jim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. I don't think I said that at the beginning. I'm Chris Carter. I'm accepting your calls. I'm taking your calls at 866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
My car does that thing. You know, that thing. Under the Hood has the answer you're looking for.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Joe. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Joe, what can we do for you?
Howdy. I got a 2004 Chevy Impala with blinker issues and a few other electrical gremlins. I have been limping along, hitting the hazard button while I had the blinker on to get it to go. And I heard months ago you guys said probably the multi-function switch, so I put that in. Still not working. Did a little YouTube research, and the guy said there's a ground up by the headlight. That could be the issue. Mess with that. Still nothing. So I'm wondering, is there something in the hazard switch that could be messing things up, and I got to replace that, or?
It depends on the model. Does this one have the hazard switch on the top of the steering column, or is it on the dash right above the radio?
On the dash.
If it's on the dash above the radio, that's your turn signal flasher, and that's everything goes through that. So yeah, if the ones in the multifunction switch, if you turn on the turn signal and you can mess with the hazard switch and it's on the multifunction switch, it's there. But if you're messing with the one over on the dash, I've had so many of those fail, and you've got to, if somebody turns on the hazard lights, all of a sudden your turn signals don't work anymore. So you tap on it a bunch of times and then turn them off. Like hit it just really quick, like tap on and off, and then leave it off. Try it and see if it works. If it works for just a little bit, that's definitely your problem. But if you can wiggle it around or pull out on it and it comes on, it's also your problem. But that's a bad thing. You'll notice when the turn signals are on, the clicking comes out of that hazard switch on the middle of the dash, because that's your flasher relay.
Yep.
It's built right into it. So yes, definitely that part. I think that part is actually pretty cheap on those cars. When I say pretty cheap, I think they're like under $30. Could be wrong. Hopefully you don't go in and they tell you, 300, but no, it's not that much.
And if not, you could wander out to a local U-Pull-It yard and find 100
for like
Monte Carlo or hazard
$10
switches
or
for little or nothing, and try it.
Perfect.
Does that help you out there, Joe?
You bet. Thank you.
I'd also like to note this call that Russ successfully said multi-function switch twice in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the record.
Don't try anymore.
Twice in a row.
For the record.
Stop right there.
Yep, we're good.
Joe, good luck. Thanks for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Carter. You're on the Under the Hood Show, Carter. What can we do for you?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Fantastic, Carter.
I got a 2018 Jeep Compass. Come on, Chassis. I got a 2018 Jeep Compass. It's got some electrical problems. So we'll be driving down the road, and we won't be having any issues. Well, across the dash in the stored message center, it'll flash like service ESC system, service dynamic steering system, service airbag system, tire pressure system, and start-stop system. Well, if you're driving and you go to check the codes again about 5 minutes later, all the codes will be gone. So I'm just trying to, I ran it in Identifix a couple times, and it's saying there could be a harness under the passenger seat that might have a broken connection, but it doesn't have any electrical seats. There's no harness under that seat.
A lot of we got quiet for a second there because I can see Russ processing over there. He's thinking through this. But, a lot of times when they say a harness under the seat, they may be talking about a harness that runs under the seat in the carpet area that, I'm not saying that on this one, but a lot of times the locations can be so crazy. Like we have that in our system too. The module is located on the right-hand side upper dash panel, and it's somewhere in that area.
Right.
Somewhere.
It's not,
We just had a left-hand side direction that was not specific.
yeah, so it could be that it's under the carpet if that's what they're talking about. I don't know that that's what it is. This sounds different. This sounds like you're getting an erroneous signal going down the road, or a signal going down the road from a speed sensor, an ABS sensor, something that's flaring, and when that flares, it says to all those other systems. The one that confuses me out of that one though is the airbag. All those other ones have a chance to be related to.
Well, the airbag could come on if the airbag does not get a correct signal from the engine computer, from the body control module. It's going to turn on because it needs those signals to know speed.
There you go.
Things like that, and also even communication.
So now on that dynamic steering and like the drivability codes, if nothing happens with the drivability, it flashed that dynamic steering service requested at me, and I was going probably 80 down the interstate. Nothing changed. And then, like I said, when I went back to check that stored code with my Solus scanner, there was no stored messages.
It sounds like it's got a communication issue. It's losing communication, and when it comes back, all the codes go away, and that's the way that part should work. If it's losing something, it might be just losing a speed sensor, and when it loses that, you're going to have somebody. You're going to have to ride while somebody drives, and you're going to have to look at data and see if you see anything missing, speed or anything like that, while it's acting up. And then if you don't see anything missing, go back to the start screen, scan all codes on the car, and let it scan every
Okay.
module as you stay steady at that speed while it's failing. And if you look and you see, okay, I've got ABS, I've got airbag, I've got steering, I've got engine, I've got body. Oh, wait a second. I'm missing the air conditioning module that was there before when I scanned it in the driveway. And then you keep going and you see, rear hatch, you're seeing all these modules and you're missing one. Go find that one that's not on the network and unplug it because it probably has a short in it and it's shorting the whole thing. That's how we find them. When we see one module is missing and I've got a short and nothing's communicating, it's usually that one module that's killing the whole thing.
And you, of course, must have a photographic memory like Russ so that you can remember which one was there the first time and is now missing.
So
It should
I
be
was also going
easy
to
if
ask
it's big. Yeah.
So the very first code that this car ever had, it was a temperature control code. And I noticed it would happen like very humid mornings, like when it would rain the night before. You'd be going down the road and it would actually throw that car into like almost limp mode to where you basically coast to a stop, get it off, start it, and then they're gone. So that was kind of where
Right.
this all started. So I'll do that though. I'll get in that car and I'll hook up my Solus scanner to it. And I'll actually read some data as we're going down the road and see if I can get it to do it again.
And I think you should do that as a live stream and put it on Real South Dakota Outdoors on
Now
Instagram.
You're talking.
There you go.
I'm holding up your little sticker that I think you sent to me at one time on YouTube right now. You'd be able to see a
nice.
tiny little sticker.
REEL.
Very cool.
Yeah, Real South
Very
Dakota
cool.
Outdoors.
I appreciate you guys.
Do you do fly fishing, Carter?
A little bit.
Yeah, I've decided that's what I want to do.
I've never been able to catch a fly. I've fished for
It's
lots of
pretty
them.
fun.
Yeah, I want to go fly fishing. I think I just want to be in the mountains. I think I just want to be in a mountain stream.
I have told my wife the same thing when we go by and we're like in the hills or the few times we've traveled through,
The
and you
stream
see the
over by the internet-
stream by the road,
yeah.
and you drive by and there's somebody out there just standing there.
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks like
We were out of my daughter's just
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, right.
You can see right to the bottom. Nice mountain runoff.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah,
steady.
that's what we got to do. We got to get out there. Let's go, Shannon.
we're leaving now.
866.
hang out. We're
Stay where
coming.
you are. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Sean. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Sean, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I have two F350s, and I got two separate problems. The first one is my daughter's. It's a 2014 F350 670, so the air conditioner will work sometimes, and then sometimes none of that cluster works at all. I was wondering, can that just be that the switches replace that, or I've checked all the fuses. All the fuses are good. Connections seem good.
When it doesn't work, do the switches not work? Is the dashes dead?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
that
the dash is dead.
that narrows it down.
Yeah, because we've had people call in before where they're losing their air conditioning going down the road in these trucks, but it wasn't electronic; it was AC system.
Likely, with as many panels as we sell for those, it's probably the dash panel that's out. Sometimes you can hit it, smack it on the face without breaking the plastic. It might, if it starts working, that's a great way to tell if it's bad. But they do, yeah. Those control panels have been problematic in those. We've replaced a number of them.
Okay.
We've said it before.
The
If
other
you go
one
to
is-
Dorman's website and you search your model of vehicle and they sell one, it's probably because they go bad.
Yeah,
Right.
DormanProducts.com has a ton of that stuff, and they try to make an OE fix better, better than the OE. So that's their fix. So check that out.
All right, we might be able to get to question 2. Go ahead with question 2, Sean.
The question two is my 2014 Dually that you guys have worked on that baffles everybody. I had the tranny filter and fluid changed in it by a person who does transmission, and ever since he changed it, now sometimes it will just rev up, not go into gear. You have to shut it off, turn it back on, then it'll go into drive and drive fine. I'm not sure why it's doing that.
I would make sure that fluid is completely full and then reprogram it. If it is full, do a relearn on the transmission. They have a relearn that you do once you've replaced a transmission when it's new. If it somehow, when they did that flush or drain and fill, it starved for fluid for just a second, so it didn't hurt anything, of course, because you weren't driving it and slipping it and getting it hot, but it could have starved for fluid, got it out of calibration, and now you're going to need to, once it's full and running well, because it's been driven for a while, do a recalibration on it.
Sean, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you.
Find us on radio, YouTube, Facebook, and podcast by searching Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Perry Klinger. Congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of collector car insurance, and also Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a good, well-trained mechanic and get yourself into a shop, make some good money, uti.edu is a place. It's a place for you. I'd take a UTI certified mechanic right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take a regular mechanic right now. A non-certified, because you can still be pretty good.
Well, tell our listeners why, Russ. Maybe there's somebody out there listening that could help us.
Last week we joked at the beginning of the show. We said it's a historic day, Shannon, and you said why? And I said, well, I don't know. And
I forgot about that.
and a couple hours later, here we were. My guy that's worked for me, and of course his son works for us too. So they're a pair. They go together, right? He's worked for me for 14 years. He started out as a mechanic and we learned from each other and built the shop up even more. And he became the assistant manager, runs things when I'm gone. And he decided that he's learned what he needs to learn, and he felt confident to go open his own shop out of town. So he's moving next week and leaving out of town, taking his son with him, and leaving us a gap to fill. So we're looking for an automotive technician. Right now I'm not necessarily looking for somebody to fill that office space. I'm looking for somebody that works on cars, and
right.
Those guys can make pretty good money working on cars. So don't be afraid if you don't know everything there is to know about cars and diagnostics. If you can turn wrenches and you can install engines and things like that, you never know. When I got started in the business, I was young and new. I didn't get to go to UTI, and when all my other guys started, they were young and new. You just got to learn. But I do have we talk about this on our national show, because we have a number of people that are moving from other states into South Dakota now where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe their wives are moving as a job transfer or something, and you're looking for that. It might be worth it to talk to us, because we're not your typical automotive place. We
Small
do this,
shop environment, family feel.
And we do this radio show, but we also have the backing of our parent company here, Nordstrom's Auto Recycling. We have 85 employees. So we've got a bigger benefits package than a shop that has 2 or 4 employees, and then we have our customers and their loyal friends that listen to the show that bring us the car. So it is a different kind of environment. We get exposed to a lot of stuff and have a lot of fun. So check out uti.edu today.
You should see if you can keep Matt, just try and do an end around and keep Matt so Jake goes off without his son.
He's listening right now saying, it ain't going to happen.
That'd be a guaranteed way to fail. Start a new shop, just yourself, nobody else.
Oh, we're excited for those two. It's a big challenge for us to fill their shoes, but also excited for them they're taking a big chance, and we'll support them. But like I said, it puts us in a spot right now where we need to figure out our side of the fence. So
866-594-4150. What else has caught your attention there?
I just had a friend of mine yesterday, and I've got to find out a little bit more information, because this is bothersome to me right now, that we had a fire here at our facility in 2012.
That was nasty.
And the friend of mine they actually came here from Morrison's in Edgerton, Wisconsin, and they were here for our open house. They drove over here for our open house in 2018, and I always remember having Bill show up, and I just thought it was pretty cool that he was here. And we've always been friends. We were regional directors together back 20 years ago in our trade association. And yesterday they had their sales reps started sending some pictures to our sales reps, and they had a fire in their dismantling shop. And it started on its own by a Tesla that was in their shop overnight, a Model S. And it started on fire on its own. The car was hit down the side. It was one they were going to be dismantling that day. And so there's some more to be found yet, but something unstabilized that battery. And I know my friend Paul's probably listening. I've talked to him on the phone just recently about some other stuff with these batteries and cars and learning, just like Russ is, we're learning all the time. But there is a possibility of a few things that could have happened, and it would all be speculation. First thing I'd asked Bill, we were just texting, was whether the car had been in a flood or not, but he said no, it was hit down the side. And Paul has shown me pictures of a car that was hit harder, kind of into the wheel area, and enough where the wheel jammed back into the battery case. And on impact, it pulled apart some of the anodes, cathodes, connectors inside, and it unstabilized the cell. And in this case, it just wasn't working. But in theory, you could unstabilize a cell where it could make it go
short it.
You could go into a thermal runaway of some sort that could just slowly be percolate. Not thermal runaway yet. That's the later part. But it could be slowly creating a hot spot, and eventually, it gets going. But I mean, or these cars get handled a ton if you're buying through auctions. It could have been such a thing that it got poked with a forklift from the bottom side that unstabilized the battery. Things are pretty stable. I mean, we've got a lot of my friends in the industry that are handling these cars, and they're pretty stable overall.
Well,
but something happened.
A battery pack, you've seen a flashlight, positive, negative. You stack the batteries in units, and when you stack them
like the long mag lights that have like 8 of them in there.
And you have groups of those bunched series parallel in an EV battery. Well, if you took your flashlight and inside of it, you took the positive from one of those batteries and jumped it to the other positive, and then you try to charge it, or you've got it drawing a lot, it's going to make one battery hotter. And once it's hot enough, it ends up like this one at Morrison's.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to get through it. They were able to contain the fire into their dismantling shop, and thank goodness didn't take more of what they had. And they're still open and operational. They're just not dismantling cars right now.
Sure.
Big impact. I've been through this in a smaller scale than what they had happen. And I really feel for them, but it does make me just really, we've got some policies we put in place here at our facility that if we are paying attention like we're supposed to, we do not have a battery pack stay in our building overnight.
Yeah, if no eyes are on it, it's outside.
And otherwise it needs to go to the other building that I feel is sacrificial. Mm-hmm. I hate to lose it, but that's where we store those.
And cars aren't left inside overnight if they're going to be dismantled. They go out.
We were looking at buying a flooded Tesla the other day, and I know that's a big opportunity for a problem. That's what I called Paul about. And we knew we bought it. It was going to sit outside in the middle of row 4 where we've just redid the ground with nothing around it until we got a chance to remove the battery and get it to him, because he was going to take it apart right away and see what we could do with it. But yeah, it's just something that we're going to be paying attention to. And I'm not saying that on this big audience that we have to scare anybody. It's just a reality of some of the stuff that we're dealing with. My fire at my place started from a gas motor car.
Which I was going to say.
So, I mean, this stuff happens.
You guys are fire aware and have been for 100 years.
Yeah, and we still had a problem because in that case, it was a cordless tool with fuel vapor that started the fire. And so fires can start for a number of reasons. And when we had a training class here just recently from iTech, and it was another training arm that's helping first responders, towers. We had quite a few people here doing a training. The one trainer had some statistics that the number of EV fires that are registered are very low in comparison, but they all get talked about.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It's very seldom you have one. You search YouTube, you're going to find 100 of them.
There's a good example. In your industry, there was more than one fire in the last 2 weeks.
Yep, exactly.
And this is the one that...
It just happens to be that. But it does make me just really want to study the issue even more. Makes me more inspired for our industry to continue to push our certification standards. And we have a high voltage vehicle protocol. And I think we're going to have to review that even further just to make people aware, because this is going to get some people's attention, because they're not a small operation that does things down and dirty like old school junkyard ways. This is a first class organization, and they know what they're doing. And so this is hard to see.
Are you going to give them advice on how to set a budget for your rebuild project? And then,
Well, I did tell you that they were here and toured us on the open house.
and then all of a sudden, we could do this too?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Scott. You're on the Under the Hood show. Scott, what can we do for you?
Got a 04 3500 Dodge with a 5.9 diesel or the Cummins and a 6-speed manual. And after it warms up, I have trouble getting it into first gear and reverse. And I tried just with it neutral, pumping the clutch like you would brakes, since it's hydraulic, but that doesn't make any difference. And I just had the grease changed in it. Thinking that might help. Any suggestions?
When they changed the fluid, did they inspect it closely? Did they see anything abnormal when they changed the fluid?
No, he said the fluid looked good.
You got something dragging.
And
if you got your foot on the clutch and you're holding it towards first gear and it's not going in, and then you turn that key off while you're doing that, and it suddenly goes clunk and drops right into gear or in reverse, first reverse, as the engine stops, 100%. It's dragging. The clutch is moving when it should not be moving. And then it would shift fine going down the road as well. So what's happening there is either the clutch, the hydraulics are not releasing it 100%, and then that can happen. Your throwout bearing in there could be wearing out, the master cylinder wearing out, could have air in it. The other thing can be the pressure plate in there could be wearing enough in the throwout bearing that it's not fully releasing, or the main shaft of that transmission could be sticking on the throwout bearing and keeping it turning. Bottom line on all this is the first thing you do is make sure you can bleed it out and make sure that is good. And if it works, you've got to pull the trans and inspect it. It's going to have to come out. You're going to have to check it. But if you leave it like this and try to force it into gear, you are going to damage that transmission very quickly. Not over time. It's going to happen very quickly.
And they're a very expensive transmission.
Yeah, I've seen a number of people try to cram them into gear, or they have it running and they turn it off for just a second and get it into gear and turn it back on to try to slip it in there, and it eats metal off of those parts very quickly in there. So you've got to address it right away to prevent, like Shannon said, a very expensive transmission replacement. Sounds like it's probably going to need a clutch. How long has it been since the transmission was out and this vehicle had a clutch and all the components replaced in it? How many miles?
Oh gosh, it's probably been, I'm guessing 15 or 20,000 miles.
Really? So it had a clutch in it just 15,000 ago?
Well, I'm not sure how many miles. It wasn't my truck originally, and it has 180 some thousand on it, and it's on it. Had this clutch changed twice, and I guess one time they put the wrong one in. Supposedly, the second shop said that they put the wrong one in it. So
I wonder if they replaced all of the components or just the clutch itself. If they just replaced the clutch disc and the pressure plate, or sometimes I've even seen them just throw the disc in there, they didn't address the rest of the stuff, that would be the issue. If you could have a receipt that showed everything they put on there, it doesn't necessarily mean they did it all, but hopefully they did.
Should have, but
It'll give you all that info, but I'd want to know that they replaced all those components in there. But it's putting a clutch in this thing is something necessary for the longevity of the truck, and then you'll know what you have if it's done all correctly.
The bleed you can do without removing the transmission, so you can start there just to see if anything changes, but otherwise it's going to have to come out and get inspected. And I suppose he could have a situation there too where he's had a fluid leak of some sort that has gummed up the works. That would be, you'd probably be getting a drip outside eventually if you had that much of a problem.
You would think so.
And this is a truck that he's got another 10, 20 years invested.
People drive
ready to go.
People drive these trucks until things break off of them.
So he's going to want to make sure he does that, gets on it right away.
Yeah.
866-594-4150. Scott, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Want to know what these guys are really about? Take a look under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to JJ. You're on the Under the Hood Show. JJ, what can we do for you?
Hey, good morning, guys. You guys are a different type of shop because I brought in my Honda yesterday and talked to Russ, and kudos to him and the company. You guys really are honest, straightforward people, and very appreciative.
Thank you.
So Russ, on the you're welcome. So on the remanufactured motor, what type of warranty comes with that for my Honda?
Well, in your case, we were talking about a used one. I'm glad you asked. They do have remans, but like we said, they're considerably more for that type of vehicle. So for the type of vehicle you have, and we have a lot of listeners and customers with ones like this, you've got a Honda CR-V with, you're approaching a couple 100,000 miles, but it's still a really nice, solid vehicle. No rust. The suspension's good. The transmission works well. It drives well. Small dent, but it's something that's a one panel bolt-on type replacement, so you could get it back to like new type shape, altogether very quickly. So the used engine is the most affordable, smartest economical choice for that vehicle to keep it on the road. And all of our used engines, when we install them, have a 1-year unlimited mileage parts and labor warranty if we install that engine for you at our shop. And then typically when we install those, we do all the basic things when we put an engine in, the tune-up items, the spark plugs, coil boots, spark plug wires, whatever it is in that system, thermostat, water pump, fluids, filters, seals, gaskets, all those things. So we know that we've got an engine that doesn't have any issues that would damage the engine, like codes that are on. We want to check those and address those and fix them, because typically an engine doesn't fail on its own more than it failing not on its own due to an outside cause. In your case, you had a problem with an oil system issue and the camshafts coming apart because of just the oils are not what they used to be and the metals are not what they used to be. But in most cases, these engines fail because of an external problem. Somebody drove around with an oxygen sensor that wasn't working for a long time, or low fuel pressure, or even an air filter that was so plugged that it caused the engine to run poorly, and it damaged the engine long term and it failed. So overall, you want to make sure you address all those items when you put it in. So the question, what's the warranty? 1 year. That's the minimum warranty, is 1 year parts and labor.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, because you answered my second question, how hard it is to pull off that panel, and we'll have to
it's an unbolt.
Talk to you guys. Yeah, so that sounds easy enough, and I really appreciate the advice and the great service you guys provide.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. You also have a radio DJ and a radio producer at your company. This is really, we cover it all, man.
We got it all covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that warranty that he talked about is something we've done for a long time up there, and we don't use it a lot. And we do offer something similar to other repair shops, so they can have at least that warranty, if not more, to offer their customers when they buy a used engine. Just something that we've always done at our own shop.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Reginald. You're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you, Reginald?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, so I've got a 1983 AMC Eagle SX4 straight 6, and I'm having an electrical issue.
I bet.
Doesn't surprise me.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
If this was 1984 and you said you had an 83 with an electrical issue, it wouldn't surprise me.
What's it doing?
Yeah, right. So here's my dilemma. Last year, I would go out. It sat during the wintertime, and so I would go out and I would start it. Like once or twice a month. Didn't have a problem.
He says it sat through the winter like it's a Lotus Emera. I mean, he said it like it was.
Why would you not be using this in the winter?
Right.
You don't want it to rust.
Right. Well, because I haven't figured out the vacuum system on it yet for the four-wheel drive.
All right.
Anyway, that's a whole nother issue. I just want to get the thing running. So what I've done is, under the recommendation of some of my, friends who are a little bit smarter than I am, just a little bit, I've replaced the ECM, I replaced the coil, I replaced the distributor. It's got a brand new battery, and so I'm getting power from the battery to the ECM and to the coil. And I've already replaced the coil twice, thinking that maybe it was the coil shorted out because I ohmed it and it didn't ohm. But then I'm not getting any power I'm not getting any spark whatsoever from the coil to the distributor.
That 1983 Eagle, and I think I would encourage people to Google this car if you have not heard of it before, because it was. I mean, they're classics now. We will be doing a Berkeley guess the color at the end of this call, so don't tell us. Okay. This is a tough one, but I think it qualifies, doesn't it?
It does.
If you had a nice, super clean one, why wouldn't it?
And it's brown. I'm going first.
But there is not a computer. There is a spark control box that controls, the in with the ignition. It's part of that system, but it's not a computer. They still used a regular carburetor, and most likely the problem is not that.
The distributor base sends the signal over to that module, and then it fires.
So I think the problem is most likely in the distributor.
Yeah, you can pull that distributor.
I've already replaced the distributor twice.
Pull it out and get yourself an electronic one.
I got to give O'Reilly's kudos because they warrantied it, right out the back. I mean, they didn't have a problem. So you're saying get an electronic distributor?
Just pull it out, take the spark control off, find yourself a distributor that is all self-contained, drop it in there, run it. That spark control was just a little problematic on that. We had problems with those spark controls on those cars in 1984 and 85. I worked on a lot of these. I was just getting into these cars, and people had them, and they were 3 years old, and they were selling them for $1,500 because they were cheap cars to begin with. A lot of cars were cheap back then, but this was like buying a Jeep. You get the basic one. So we would see these cars as the school car for people as they got into 86, 87. But a lot of them got swapped over because they would have ignition problems. But other than that, and vacuum lines that would break behind the dash where that control was under the right side of the dash there, they just were pretty tough cars. We took them off-road and mudding and beat the crap out of them, and they lasted. But if you can get around that, I think you'd be happier, because if you fix it, if you had a car that was a year old that was having problems when it was brand new back in the 80s, you fix it again, you might still have problems again.
This SX4 Eagle is blue.
You say blue?
Yes.
I'm going to say it's one of those weird gold.
No, that's the brown color.
Tan. Okay.
Nope, you can't do it.
Not brown. I'm going.
Brown is the gold.
I'm going with.
It's a harvest gold.
You guys need to differentiate between these two answers.
Orangey gold.
Okay,
that's the color. It's harvest gold.
Before I give the answer to the color, so what is the prize for who guesses the color?
Just pride, and we've got just a short amount of time.
If we're wrong, you get a hoodie. But if we're right,
what color is it?
Oh, yeah, the first gentleman was right. It's brown.
Brown.
So
all right.
I'm right. Okay, I'm going to give you a hoodie anyways, courtesy of our friends over at Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years. 50 years. They could have insured this car when it was new.
You weren't looking.
He's
Reginald, thanks very much.
Stay on the phone.
Stay on the phone. We're going to come back to you, all right?
Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Producer
Thanks.
Doug.
This is like a bonus after show, but it's the in between.
It's an early. It's a pre-after.
Do you think there's people like the designer of the AMC Eagle is sitting right now going, "I told you I was right."
He may be listening right now.
I wanted to get into this. Another guess, and I think we've done it before. What was the last year they made the Eagle?
Oh, okay.
Was it 1988?
Yeah, well, that car, you mean?
Yeah.
Before the Eagle Vision.
Yeah. The Eagle bubble top.
No.
As a radio person, I am a radio person at heart. We have to stop, and I have to go back to monitor. We have to stop and end this middle part.
We'll move this to the after show, the real one.
I can't take this anymore.
Oh, so this isn't like you have to. You just can't take it.
I can't take it because we're only a minute in. We've got 6 minutes. But as the radio guy, I have to get back to the radio audio to make sure we're on time. All right. So this is all in the ether, but it's not.
So on YouTube, they're going to see the dead space again with the little elevator music playing and. I don't even know what it is because we're going to cut it after the live show. Hey, thanks. By the way, right on YouTube, this is important. Please subscribe to the show.
Yeah.
Like the video. Yeah. But you know what's would really do? If you don't subscribe and you don't like it,
send us a check.
Send us a check. There you go. Super chat. The chat feature, we might have 50 people chat during the show, or one or none. I don't know. But the comments are basically non-existent. If you want to ask a question about your car, when this show is over today, that's when we want you to ask.
Okay.
Because it'll ask in the comments. And when YouTube sees comments, boom, the show blows up. Because on the videos we have, let's say, 50 comments that were big, maybe it's not even the show, we're doing something else. I look and I can see how many people subscribe during that video.
Okay.
The numbers of subscribers. That is how we gained all those subscribers. They were huge during videos that were commented on because YouTube says, well, if nobody comments,
the algorithm sees
it's not interesting. It's all computer generated. They don't care. The computer says what videos had comments. So please ask any car questions you have after the show is over, unless you're calling us, but just ask them. Ask them in the comments. We would appreciate that.
Can they do it during the show?
There's no comments during the show. There's chat during the show. So if you ask us after, then you can just forget about all that extra stuff and just
enjoy the show.
Help us out. I'm aiming towards that YouTube plaque to put on the wall.
Oh yeah,
the silver one.
Oh yeah.
Need 100,000 subscribers, but we're looking for 10. We're getting real close to 7 right now.
Oh.
We're aiming for the 10,000 because some things change at 10,000. They start showing it to more people. So
all right.
We're getting there quick.
Chris,
Thanks.
are you about having a heart attack right now?
Just about. Yep. Like I was at the end of the show when he kept talking.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. Let's go right to the phones because Dwight's been holding over the break. Let's talk to Dwight. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Dwight, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for your show.
Thank you.
You bet. First of all, I have a 2020 Lincoln Navigator, and I have 72,000 on it, but I'm on my 4th torque converter.
That's
it's went out. This is the 4th one, including the original, and it's about every 15,000 miles.
That is 4 more torque converters than most people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got that right.
What do you do with this thing? What's your driving style? What's your habits? Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, it doesn't tow any distance. I have a boat that I maybe tow a mile to the dock and a mile out of the dock, but that's the only towing it gets. My driving is, interstate driving and in town driving. Nothing unusual.
Okay. And when Russ is about to say something before he jumps in. I'm just going to say, when it fails, is it doing the same thing every time? What's your symptoms that make them go to torque converter?
Yep. The first 3 times, it was just like slippage. It just wasn't going into gear real quick. We could tell it was sluggish. This last time, we were going down the road, and I suppose I was doing a good 80 on interstate, and I was going to pass somebody, and I floored it, and I thought the transmission was going to fall out the bottom. It just clunked, and I did that 2 times in a row, and then it did it 2 other times when my son was driving it, and I can't make it happen, but it seems like when it does, it's when I'm in cruise control at about 80, and then I want to pass somebody, and then it just a terrible clunking sound, like it drops down into 7th gear or something. I don't know.
Got an EcoBoost in this?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. We've seen this before. We've had a couple customers that they had more than one torque converter go out, and they just kept putting them in. One chose to go get one in, and the other one, we replaced the transmission with the torque converter with a used part.
Yep.
And now it's got like 80,000 more miles on it, and it's still working fine. So it's very possible that there is something inside of that transmission that is causing that torque converter to fail for whatever reason. Something misaligned with the input shaft or something, but something is causing it to do that. And it's very possible because you've got a shaft coming out of the front of that transmission and a hub, and it all goes into that torque converter and runs as it's spinning. And if it's not perfectly straight, something's off. It's going to do that. I mean, that might be your solution, is just if you got to fix it, you may just replace the whole thing. And then, what's that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that might just be your only solution if you've done this, if this is the 4th one.
Yeah. Well, and I told them, I said, okay, so something's making the torque converter go. You can't have 4 bad torque converters with nothing happening on the back side of that. And they said, no, your transmission's just perfect. Well, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, you could have 2. I could see 2 go bad. That could happen, but never any more than that. It's got to be something else going on. And the programming in that should not affect that. But if you put a transmission in, it's going to get an update flash to be reprogrammed anyways. So, yeah, I mean, if I was looking to try to figure this out after you'd already done, you're on your 4th one now, I would be giving you an estimate to replace the whole unit.
This is just for me to get my brain straight. 2020, you said it drops into 7th gear. Is that an 8-speed or a 10-speed in that one?
I believe it's a 10-speed.
Because that was that universal transmission that GM and Ford kind of designed together.
He said it feels like it's dropping in because it's giving you a clunk.
It feels like it. I don't see a number. It just felt like it, went into another too low of a gear. And that really clunk.
Because if it's that 10-speed, we have not seen a ton of problems with the trannies, but yeah, like I think Russ is giving you a good answer there. You hate to have to go that far, but there's something not lined up right.
Well, I put an extended warranty on when I bought it to $125,000. So
you, in this case, are getting your money's worth. It sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the thing is, they've covered all the torque converters because it was their product that went bad.
At some point, you think they would be looking at this and saying, "We got to do something different here,"
right?
Or if they're if they're getting a certain brand of torque converter that they're sending over. They might try a different one. They might go. I don't. Are they putting factory OE Ford torque converter in, or are they going with something else?
I don't know that answer specifically.
I would check that answer too.
Are you using a? You're not using the dealer, right? You're using a shop to do it.
No, I'm using.
You're using the dealer.
I'm using. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say if you check with an ATRA Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association shop, they have a giant network that dwarfs the manufacturer's network because they're connected to basically everybody out there that's part of their group, and they'd know about this problem.
Okay.
They would be able to help you with this. And if they had put in X brand of torque converter, they would say, yes, this is the fourth one. Let's return it as defective, get our money back, and purchase a different style.
And no shade on the dealer here because
Correct.
they sold the warranty
and they're covering
They're
it.
carrying out the operation that the warranty company is telling them to do.
But you've got a circumstance that's outside of the box right now, and it would be really great to have some info on what could be causing this failure.
So what does Dwight go to the ATRA shop first?
He can't.
Okay.
I mean, unless he wants to pay for it.
No,
He's got a dealer warranty.
He does not.
But I think he could press back through though, and get to somebody that they need to raise a flag and say
This should have been elevated to
By
an
the second
engineer
one.
level by the dealership when it got to the third unit.
And they're going to be on board with that too, because then
And
they
they
don't
can.
have to cover it anymore.
Yeah, they can. I have worked at a Ford dealership. They will say, hey, we need to contact the manufacturer and say, look, we've got to open a case because we're on our third unit now, putting the fourth one in. Now the fourth one's bad. Let's have an engineer get involved and find out what's
Dwight
going
needs to talk to someone at the dealership who can take a bigger picture of this thing, right?
The service advisor is where it starts, and they're the ones that are responsible and know how to get it.
Right.
That advisor needs to go to the manager.
Yeah, he's got to talk to somebody, and it might even be contacting your warranty company just to say, do you guys want to keep doing this?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that help you out there, Dwight?
Yep, it does. Yeah, it gives me a direction. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to talk to Steve in just a second. Steve, hold on. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Free car advice. Now that's something new. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Utah now and talk to Steve. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Steve, what can we do for you?
Hello, guys. Great show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I got a 2007 GMC Sierra 1500 Classic, 4.8, and I keep getting a P0174 and a P0171 code on it. And according to the scanner, it's something to do with the ethanol content. Different things that pops up on the scanner, but what do you guys think?
Have you reset the alcohol content monitor on the scanner?
No, I have not.
That's step one. They will get out of calibration often. If you own one of those vehicles, you almost need to own a scanner in order to reset that because they will be hard to start. They can misfire. They will give you those codes. The fuel mileage will just go out the door. To have all sorts of issues with that. It can be underpowered, and it's all in the alcohol content monitor. What happens is you need to run that tank down as close to empty as you can without running out of fuel before you refuel it with something different than what is in there. And then you need to fill it to at least from that empty point to at least 3/4 of a tank. It needs to see a change of so much on the fuel gauge after you shut it off to restart it to know it needs to sample what the fuel ratio is again. But if it's already out of calibration, it won't work because it'll change it from whatever calibration that was off to a new calibration that's off, but a way different one. Toyotas are the same way. So they're really bad about it. You've got to run it down. So if you're going to go from no ethanol content fuel to E15 to E30, or E85, you've got to run it down almost to empty before you refuel it with a different type of fuel, or just stick with the same fuel every time. And sometimes, the pumps are labeled what they are, and they should be what they are, but I know I've had people that say, I don't purchase ethanol fuel, and then they say, and I know I don't purchase the 88 either. Like, oh, okay, because I was thinking maybe you got 15, but their fuel, when I sample it, and I sample it in the bottle in the glass jar, and I'm shaking it up and looking at it, it's got 15% in it. So somewhere along the line, they got 15% when they thought they were running 0, and they got a calibration monitor that's out, or they got 30% somehow. Maybe somebody else used the truck, grabbed the wrong handle. I don't know, but it can throw that monitor off. So this should be as simple as you being able to have that monitor reset and starting at a baseline again, and then you know. Fill it up with fuel before you reset it, and fill it up with, it's going to go to 0, so you want to fill it up and make sure you have 0% in there. So you're going to have to fill the truck with non-ethanol, make sure it's not at 88, it's got to be the non-ethanol, fill it up, drive it till it gets down to almost nothing, fill it up again, and then bring it into the shop where they're going to clear it and reset it to 0, because you're going to want to make sure that the actual fuel reads what the scanner is. You can't set it for 15 or 20 or 30%. We can only reset it to 0. So you want to make sure the truck has 0 in it to begin with. That's the baseline.
Okay.
Yep. When it comes off the manufacturer's line, it's got 0% in it, and they started off at 0.
Doesn't it? Don't we see that some non-ethanol fuels have ethanol in
They
them?
have additives in it, but no, they're not supposed to contain ethanol if the pump is labeled contains no ethanol.
Okay.
It may contain 10% of some other oxygenator, but not alcohol, not ethanol. Something that is not going to affect the
Is that always the
volatility
case?
of it.
It's supposed to, but is that always the case?
There are all the pumps are supposed to be labeled, by law as to what they contain, but there are times where it could. It's
There's
humans.
some bleed over in the tank.
Yeah,
piping
well,
the
humans
hoses.
are humans. I mean, it could be. You see the guy or the girl that fills the tank, right?
Yeah.
What happens if they stick a diesel nozzle in the tank next to it? It could happen. Probably is.
Have you ever
almost
studied those
non-existent.
holes in the tanks? Are they like the ones in the cars where they have different sizes?
I've never studied it.
Oh,
I've put the stick in there to read
Yeah.
how many gallons are in there, and I've looked
That'd be a
in
good question to ask Mitch.
but I've never looked to see if there was a different size. Now the unleaded, I know those are all the same, but the diesel may be a different size nozzle.
I'm just curious. Never thought of it.
They paint them.
You see those guys out there and those gals, filling the tanks.
Mm-hmm.
They're just they got to have the same mistakes we do every once in a while.
So I'm confident because I don't make any mistakes mostly.
You should be a fuel tank
I
filler.
guess, yeah. I'll tell you one thing about those sticks. I used to work at the gas station. It was one of my favorite jobs in the world, and I had to measure the fuel level on those sticks. I can't tell you how bad I wanted to try and javelin throw one of those sticks. I mean, I've thought about it.
You ever
since-
put one that's a little too short and you drop it in the tank? They say, "Don't-"
No.
When was the last time you saw somebody using one of them sticks?
Stuck a tank is what they call it.
They're all electronic now, I would
Yeah,
guess.
they're all electronic.
What?
You
So
have
those
to have a
sticks
gas
are just
station one.
available? I could go find
You could
one.
find one and
Sure.
javelin throw it.
Oh my God, I wanted to. So that has taken up a lot of space in my head over the past 25 years.
When the tanks were replaced, you saw all the underground tanks get replaced because they leaked. Then they went to monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to have monitors on them, period. And I'm assuming
Yeah.
they tied in a fuel
We used to
level
have
monitor.
arguments about how far you thought you could throw
I think
that
they
stick.
still stick the tanks across the street. Those auxiliary tanks they have on the side that have like
I just
construction
haven't
fuel
seen
in them.
anybody stick a tank for a
I
while.
have. I've seen them standing on the ladder up on the catwalk.
What?
sticking
top,
those.
yeah.
So the
The top ones.
sticks are there.
Yeah,
The
they're
sticks
laying
are-
next to the tank.
Let's go throw one. Let's
Go
go
ahead.
see how far we can throw one. This is because listen. If we go over there now and throw a stick,
They're
we're-
going to throw a fit.
No, yeah, they'll get a little upset, but we're
little?
not gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna get in trouble. They'll go, oh, those guys are jerks or whatever.
Get out of here.
But
What are
I'm
you
not gonna
doing?
get fired. I know that they're not gonna fire me because I don't work for them. So let's go throw that stick.
You're way too
How
excited
far
about
do you
this.
think we could? How far do you
You're
think you
way
could
too
throw it?
excited about this.
How far do you think you could throw it?
I don't
Steve,
know.
thanks
Further-
very much for the
further
call.
than you.
Good luck. That's all I need. That's all I need. All right, here we go. Let's go to Louisiana and talk to Ray. You're on the Under the Hood show. Ray, what can we do for you?
Yes, hey, I love y'all's show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, I stick 2 tanks every month, and I've never thought about throwing the stick.
Now you're gonna. Now you're gonna.
Now you are.
You're not going to be able to not think about throwing
Yeah.
the stick.
Eyeball how far you think you can throw it and call us back.
Oh, well, yes, I am going to throw it and just plan on buying a new one because, yes, I'm going to do it.
Now I got dirt in my fuel because somebody threw the tank in the red dirt to sticking.
You got to wipe it off first. You know, when you're...
That's right. That's right. I'm calling about, actually, I think I'm just bragging, but I'm calling about a 2004 Ford Ranger Edge. My engine light came on about 150,000 miles. The mechanic turned it off a couple times and just told me to use ethanol treatment. So I just left the light on and put me a little piece of tape over it. And that was 15 years ago. And now the light's off. It went off and it's off now all the time. It's off. So there's no light on.
The bulb burned out.
Yeah, I bet.
You fixed it.
That's the first thing I thought, but before it went off for good, it would come on like for momentarily. A little while, I'd go by the shop and just tell them to turn it off. That happened twice. And my dad told me, said, well, the bulb burned out. But when I turn it on, I switch it to auxiliary to crank it. You know, the light comes on, so I know it's not burned out. I don't know. It just went off, and now it's not on, so.
It could have fixed itself. There's lots of things that can cause that, on and off.
Chris would be so happy.
Yeah.
If that was him. He would be say, "Yep, it's off. We're done."
Well, if you've got a problem, an oxygen sensor that's not quite working right, and then it decides to just heat and time, temperature, that it could have fixed itself.
And the light could have been something that has just gotten fixed over the intervening 15 years.
Somebody messed with something else and that got fixed.
Yeah.
It's possible. Vacuum leak.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Oxygen sensor had a bug on it.
Or a vacuum leak that's plugged with dirt now.
Oh, there
Sucked
you go.
enough dirt in there.
The mechanic told me it was something to do with the air conditioning while the light was on last time, and I thought, well, there's nothing wrong with the air conditioning. So the black tape worked good until the light went off, and now it's just off for good, I guess.
Sounds good to me.
I do have 640,000 miles
boy.
on this Ford.
All right.
That's got to be a record. I wanted to call and brag.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's worth a brag. Now these Ford Ranger Edges, they were pretty cocky looking when they came out. They were.
Well, that's why I bought it, because I thought it would last. It has the same engine that the Ford tractors have in them.
Is yours a 4-cylinder?
It's a 3.0.
Okay, all right. And then I didn't realize that they use that in a Ford tractor.
They use like the Bobcat.
I thought that, not, but
yeah.
but
okay. This is borderline Berkeley classic, and with 600,000 miles, I need to guess the color of this. I'm sorry, but I think we need to.
Okay.
I think this is a white.
Oh, I was going to
Ford
say
Edge.
white. I was going to say
Ranger
white.
Edge.
I'll go with blue.
It's black.
Black. Ray, what color is it?
boom! Oh, it's so black.
Russ is 2 for 2 today.
How about that? Good
Wow,
job.
Look at that.
Ray, thanks very much for the call and congratulations. And that really is not a story for our listeners, that if you ignore the light, it'll go 500,000 miles.
But I love it.
It is if you're answering the calls.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to...
Chris says perfect.
Hey, the lights on, Chris. No. I got 300,000 miles to go before we check that thing. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
If it needs more than duct tape, you need Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and you can subscribe there. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, then join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com. Just so we have your address, you could win a hoodie.
Like Tyler Greer, congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu, and Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage.
I have decided that driving the Pontiac less is okay, so I might be I might go with the collector's insurance. I've always had daily driver insurance because I drive it a lot.
Well, you can if you're driving it less.
But then I
mean, you can enjoy it. Drive it. There's no mileage limit. Enjoy it all you want, but enjoy it. It's not made to drive to work every day. Let it sit outside while it could get hailed on or stormed. And
I've been finally treating it like a
collector car.
And it's okay. It's okay to do that. It does feel good to take it out and it's clean every time.
Boy, speaking of collector cars, I've been watching the pre-auction for Barrett-Jackson and the stuff they're consigning. Ooh, boy.
They take a
there was
Pontiac.
a K5 Blazer on there yesterday. Oh man, if they only built them like that when it was new. It's beautiful. They kept the body lines and they did that thing where they put just a little larger tire on it, a little wider, like a 1250, 31 1250, something like that, 32. But the colors are just perfect. The interior is just perfect, but you open the hood, it's got Wildwood brakes on it. It's got an LS engine in it, updated air. I think that we're gonna have to take some bets here on the show, a little off the side, what we think cars will go for because they go for no reserve. We'll have to see what. I think that one's going for 20,000. I think that one's going for 80.
Well, they have their game they play for people that watch. We can have our own.
Yeah.
Or else we all could play their game
I
and see who does the best.
All the Trans Ams like Shannon's, he'll be overvaluing because he'll want them to go. Oh, that one's going for 200. Yeah, no.
Let's go. Let's go to West Virginia and talk to Evan. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Evan, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, long time listener, first time caller.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show.
Yeah.
I got a 2011 Subaru Legacy Limited, and the battery recently went dead in the car. I swapped the battery with a brand new battery. The car already has a new alternator on it, and now with the new battery in it, the brake light is flashing, the ABS light has come on, and the stability control light has come on since changing the battery. Now, I've tried resetting the codes, and it won't reset the codes, and then the lights will go off. You have any idea what could be causing that?
What are the codes for the brakes?
It was
relay.
It was just yeah, I think so. Yeah, or the ABS module, but it didn't have any of the lights or anything like that. Nothing was on in the car at all. There was zero lights. It ran and drove perfect until the battery went dead. My wife got jumped and drove it home and had no lights on the whole way home. She got home. I tested the battery. The battery was no good. So we went and bought a new battery, and I stuck the new battery in it. And as soon as I started the car, all those lights were on.
Yeah, so it's possible that ABS module has failed. There's a relay in it, and that thing stays powered up. As long as it's powered up, it's fine. Imagine a car that runs forever. You start it up, and it's running, and now you don't turn it off. You go to the gas station, and you keep pumping gas into that thing, and you just let it run. You keep filling it.
You might get an emissions light.
You never shut it off. You just keep filling it. But you've taken the starter off the car and thrown it away. Well, how would you know the starter's bad until you turn it off?
Interesting.
The ABS system, you powered it down, and now when it powered back up and it runs through a self-test, it doesn't work. We see that with things. And I've told people when they come in to have a battery changed, do you have your radio code? And if they say no, I say, well, if you don't have a radio code, you need this battery changed. It's going to lock up, and that's not my problem. You were missing your code. You were responsible to keep that. I also tell them that if you disconnect that battery and there's something that needs to go through a self-test that has failed, there is a possibility you might get a light. That's why we try to keep power to every car when we change a battery. If we change an engine, we can't help that. We have to disable the system. You can't store power to it for a day or two or even 6-7 hours while you change an engine. But if we're just swapping a battery, we put backup power into the car while we do it. But it's very rare that this happens, but it can. So if your codes are module failure or relay failure in that module, you're going to have to replace the unit. But if you've got a separate code in there when that comes on, you could have a wheel speed sensor or something that's failing and it's just a coincidence. But that it happened exactly when you remove the battery and put it back in makes me a little leery. I would say that if you've
it has more than one code. It has one for the ABS, and one for the vehicle dynamic control or the stability control, whatever you want to call it. The sensor, is behind the steering wheel.
Yep, that's all part of the
It
ABS.
has one for that. Yeah, and the ABS. If that sensor behind the wheel went bad, would that trip the ABS?
Definitely. Yeah, that would definitely do it. But also,
that sensor is unlikely to go bad during a battery change. But
it has to be calibrated after a battery change, though.
Ah,
you have to center the steering wheel, drive it so I drive across the parking lot so the wheel is straight, slowly stop, put it in park, and then recalibrate. Because it has
to put to it with jumper cables that somebody did that wrong?
No, because this problem happened after you changed the battery, correct? Not before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she drove it home, she had somebody give her a jump, and she drove it home, and there was no lights or anything on the dash. It didn't happen until after I changed the battery.
Well, that's promising.
You
that
sure
sounds like promising you less money out of
You
pocket.
sure she's honest? Do you believe her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe her.
Because I wouldn't. I mean, I would believe my wife. My wife would tell the truth, but I might not.
If you know what's good for you, you'll say that.
Yeah, I would go. I go.
We all
the
will.
lights weren't on. I don't think I did anything wrong. The light just came on, and then. But I would totally believe my wife. I just wanted to see.
You know
if
what's
Evan
worse
was in
than
that same
anything is
spot.
when you didn't do anything wrong, Chris. Something breaks, but she doesn't believe you. When you're like, I know I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
but I didn't scratch the car.
Right.
That was not there. You scratched
It's
it.
my backup car, so it's my backup car. So on her way home, she was watching every light, everything on the dash to make sure nothing come on because she thought she had broke it.
Okay.
It's
Make
my
sure you're
car.
safe.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah,
You're.
she wanted to
you're
make sure nothing was wrong with it.
you got. I feel like Evan. Your first call. You got some good info here too. Things that are kind of eye opening.
If you have any questions after the show, just go to our YouTube page and ask your questions right in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we want people to do. If you've got questions, we'd love to give you answers. Answer them. Just go to our YouTube page and ask the questions there.
After the live stream.
UnderTheHoodShow.com or YouTube.com/UnderTheHoodShow. Yeah. So just if you're listening right now on the radio podcast, that's where your questions go. They're
Evan,
not on the website anymore.
Thanks very much for the call. And if it works, go comment on the thing and go, hey, you guys help me. Thanks a lot.
That too.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Ida in Florida. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Ida, what can we do for you?
Okay, I have a 98 Ford Ranger. I blew a head gasket in it and had to rebuild the engine. Before this, I was having a problem with the alternator not charging. I took the alternator out, was going to get a used one from a junkyard and put in it to see if that might be the problem. Well, theirs didn't work, so I put the old one back in, and it started working fine. There is now, since I had to rebuild the engine, it's doing it again. What could be the problem?
The common thread about this alternator working and not working and then working again is probably that it's being unplugged and the wiring is being handled. It probably has nothing to do with the alternator. It probably has more to do with the connector and the plugins on the alternator.
The little white wire.
And so I would inspect that really close and put new pigtails on there. And you can probably get those at the parts store because it's a common problem.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope I'm right because you would be really happy and it'd be an easy fix.
Yeah, it does. It very often it happens.
Right. I think you are right because when we started the truck, you could pull out, lift them wires up a little bit, not pull out them, but move them, and you could hear the difference in the engine when you moved them.
Slows down when it starts charging.
We talk about this on the show a number of times. Sometimes when people buy a different part and they replace it, they think, I fixed it.
Right.
And then the problem comes back about 4 months later, 3 months later, a week later, and they fixed it because they replaced the part.
Right.
They moved the wires around. They reseated the connector. They might have tugged on the wire a little bit. So it's always a possibility that those connectors are an issue. So sometimes I've told people, just go unplug it. Just check the connector, move it around, and plug it back in and see if it works again.
Ida, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Jack. You're on the Under the Hood Show, Jack. What can we do for you?
I'm following up on the
electric or fuel / electrical challenge I've had with 2002 Ford E450 Super Duty van, V10. So I gave you a lot of details in my original communication. I'm not sure if you want me to rattle on again or you want to just ask me something.
What's the current state of the union? You're still calling, so either you're here to brag or you're here to tell us it's not working yet.
Right.
Well, a friend of mine encouraged me strongly to do this, and so I've been working on it the whole time. And he came back to me and he kept prodding me. So I'm doing this thinking that y'all are a lot smarter than me.
Well, thank you.
Well, give us the Cliff's Notes version of what you've done and what's going on, just for other listeners that might be out there that have not followed the story.
Seems like originally I purchased the vehicle less than a year ago. Mileage was low on it, but it's had a lot of people owned it apparently from the tracks that I see that are left behind. Had issues with it that were not related to the challenge that I had now, worked on them. Heat seemed to always be a factor because when I drove it home originally from Pensacola to my home near Jackson, Mississippi, I had zero issues. Thought everything was fine, worked on the camping part of it. It's like a box on the back of a cutover a stripped down version of a van that somebody added a fiberglass box to, but it's been modified a lot. So I don't really know what everybody's done. I'm finding things. Anyway, the latest issue was I'm traveling. I have a new issue I haven't had. Cruise is on, traveling on the interstate. It seems like the cruise drops out, but then it seems like it comes back, but it's with a surge. And then as I keep going, I get to my destination. I find that I have it appears to be somewhat of a dynamic situation, but I discover that if I'm driving and I press on the accelerator, moving the throttle position sensor, when it appears to die when I'm moving it, I get fuel again. If I'm stopped when I do this and I turn the ignition off and back on, I get fuel again. So it appears since then I've purchased a authorized Ford wiring diagrams and I've done some more research, and it appears that I've done some more troubleshooting. I tried interrupting at the inertia switch and I got a different condition. So it appears that what's happening is that something is shutting off power to this is my evaluation, right or wrong. Something was shutting off power to the fuel pump relay and then giving it back. From what I can read, the ECM is involved in providing power to the fuel pump relay, not to the fuel pump itself. So I have disconnected the fuel pump, the PCM is what it's called. I've disconnected that connector. I've brushed all those contacts with something to try to help them to conduct better, plugged it back in, driven it again when it's cool, no issues. So that's where I stand. That's synopsis. That's kind of a long synopsis, isn't it?
Yeah, you got quite a bit of stuff going on. In a situation like this, and you're losing fuel and it comes back, I am probably going to start by back probing right at the fuel pump, running my leads all the way up into the cab to a voltmeter so I can see what's going on. And if it dies going down the road, starts surging, I'm going to look and see if I've got a change in voltage. And if it goes away, and I'm losing voltage because my voltage goes away, and it starts doing that, and then I pull over, shut it off, restart it, and the voltage comes back, then I'm going to wait for it to go away again, and I'm going to pull over, and I'm going to have to do it where we're at. I have that ability to get off the road. I'm going to get off the road, and I'm not going to turn the key off. I'm going to start checking the circuit. I'm going to go from the pump in the back, pull those off. I'm going to go up a little further forward where the power is injected into that system up by the fuse box under the hood. See if I've got power there. If I do, I know it's in the wiring. If I don't, I check, is the relay coming on like it's supposed to? Yes, no. Can I pull the relay out and check, do I have power coming into the relay but not leaving the relay? If I don't have power coming in, then it doesn't matter if the computer's controlling the relay on. I know I've got a problem in that circuit. Could be the fuse box that's got a problem with it. Can I just smack the fuse box under the hood there and then turn it to the start position again, even though I didn't turn it off? It was in the run position, but it's dead. Should be able to just tap on the box and hit it to crank, and will it start up? Then I know there's an issue. This is going to be tricky. When you run into electrical issues on the vehicles, there's a lot of shops that won't even touch them. They just don't want to mess with them because the
time thief.
They don't want to spend the time. They might work on it a few hours and say, we're going to charge you this much, and we'll try that. And if we can't figure it out, you're on your own. And some people will be willing to do that. Other people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to spend that money and not get anywhere. It's a tough deal. Very tough deal.
Because in that scenario, I think what Russ usually does is you'll explain to him like he just did and say, this would be my first instinct. This is where I would like to try, but
and once you get to that point, you can come back and
that's right.
We don't do it very often, but I had a Hummer H2 that was a nightmare, and it had been to shops, and they had spent a lot of money and a lot of time on it. And I said, this is kind of a fun one. I'm willing to work on it. If you want to pay, I'll fix it. And I'll fix it. I'll go until it's fixed, but it could cost you a lot of money. It ended up being a few $1,000s. But you know what? It's fixed. And that was months ago. And that vehicle is back at our shop now with many more miles on it. They've driven it everywhere with zero issues. And they're in to get a mirror replaced and a window that won't roll down fixed. So they trust the vehicle now, and they want everything to work. But they were pulling their hair out because it had this type of thing. It's just a very difficult thing to find that nobody wanted to.
Did you take it to the Hummer track down in Sioux Falls and see if it would?
That's gone. That's way gone. Last time Shannon and I, we did that. We drove the Hummer track, and I think I about took the rocker off that one car, and he's like, it's okay, it's fine. Well.
Jack, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That is, that's just one of those things that you just gotta.
When was that? Like 2000?
Yeah, 2002 when the H2 came out. I think
you just didn't.
Or 98.
Just a second. I'm just gonna think about this. There was H3s involved.
That was when it.
So it had to be 2007.
No, we had the ones and the twos is all we had. There was no H3 in that.
I think the track came with the H3. I think they put the track up to introduce the H3.
You know, Russ is onto something too, though, because they had an old school H1 and they had an H2.
That's all we drove at that time.
Now we're all conflating.
Or maybe they weren't letting us drive maybe they didn't have enough to drive, but we drove the ones and the twos. That's all we could drive on the track at that time.
Jack, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That is, that's not fun. I have a question from the chat. M. Rivera says, what are your guys' thoughts on the 2020 to 2022 Ram Power Wagon?
Oh, yeah. Nice truck.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, no. They had a classic edition, and I'm just trying to, the Power Wagon, though, I think was built off of the new generation. They did different packages, like, on those trucks, and my brain's trying to get straight on which package was on which style, because they had the classic truck that had 5 lug wheels, and then they had the new truck in that era that had 6 lug wheels. If you ever want to know the difference, if you can't tell just by quick visual examination, look at the number of studs on the wheels. And
which one's which?
I believe the 5 is the older one, and the 6 is the newer one.
All right.
Or the new generation. And the new generation trucks, they've sold a ton of them. At Classic Edition also, we've had like our outside salesman, Tim, has a Classic Edition
This is a Warlock.
And yeah, that Warlock Edition. And
did you know that it was a Warlock? The VIN told us that.
Well, it comes up that way. We've got another one in the parking lot that says Warlock too.
It came by the VIN from the dealership because it didn't have any stickers when we got it. It was who knows.
Yeah. So that truck though is a V6, and he's got a bunch of miles on it, and it's been overall very dependable. We're actually thinking about fixing up another one for him.
Okay. So a thumbs up on that.
Thumbs up.
What?
I'll just say, as dependable or as capable of having a problem as a Silverado F-150 in the same era.
Okay. That's a.
I mean, we could sit here and pick problems.
Sure.
But I think, Russ, would you agree with that, or am I?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it all still gets into, for anybody looking at a truck, what are you going to use the truck for? Make sure the truck you are looking at has the capability to do what you want to do. And if you're just going to drive it and occasionally go to the landfill, you want to be able to put stuff in the back, haul things. They're all great. But if you got any trailer involved, then you need to know where the ratings are at for that truck.
Because you can't do it with those if you don't have a trailer package. Don't do it. You got to be. I mean, you can't over tow it. You can tow, but don't over tow because you'll burn some things up. We learned that.
It is amazing looking at. I was just talking to someone the other day about a tow. They wanted to get a little camper, and they were looking at their tow rating on their little SUV, and they thought no problem because the tow rating on it is like 1,000 pounds, and that camper doesn't weigh 1,000. And I was like, for one, you have to weigh it loaded, and for two, it's not just that weight, right? I mean, that's
right.
It's cargo.
And 80% of it. My daughter just switched out from her Yukon. They bought a brand new Grand Wagoneer.
Oh, really?
And I was like, you spent $120,000? I thought no, that's the fancy package. They got a twin turbo V6 Grand Wagoneer, and it was well under 100. Well under. I want to say it was like 60 something. So that's a pretty good for a full size vehicle with that. But the tow rating on that was better than the Yukon. So because they pull a camper with it. So and it has more passenger capacity. So look at the numbers.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturtevants. Until next time, you can find us at underthehoodshow.com. All right, this is the after show. I have to go. Should we do like a magic trick? Do you want to blow your nose over there on mic?
I was thinking we were off.
No, we're back on.
Oh,
now.
That was loud.
We're good.
Right.
I'm a loud nose blower.
Just leave it run and I'll come over there in a minute and shut it off.
But if we get that black, and I could hold it up, and then I'll drop it and I'll be gone.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, grab that.
Okay, while they're doing that, I will tell you that the Eagle that we talked about earlier, if you're waiting for that, was last produced in 1988. I was right.
Yep, we talked about that.
I want to make sure. And am I right or wrong? Is the SX4, was that the two-door?
Yes. It was the fastback one. It wasn't the...
But then wasn't that a two-door?
That's a good question. I was just looking at pictures of them. I also, I also saw the...
Get your comments in now. Comments.
The H... No, not yet.
No, not yet. When we're done.
So
after Russ disappears.
The H2 and H3 were 2002 to 2005, so that helps us not at all because we're pretty sure that track that's when we're thinking.
Yeah, the H3 was 08.
I'm sorry, 02 H3. No, 05.
Okay.
The
Tammy and I had one that Russ helped us fix.
All right, here we go. I got to go. Ready? Are you putting it on just that one? Okay. All right, ready? Are you going to appear? Okay. Here we go. Did you ever imagine that this is what we would be doing in here? All right, here we go.
Pretty slick.
Ready?
I can see your hands. You got to get them higher.
Well, I can't.
Ta-da! Yeah, wasn't that amazing? That was the best trick we've ever done.
That was low-key funny. Good luck to you.
We're all counting on you. Have fun.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Yeah, no, we were just talking about the Eagle, and...
the Eagle has landed.
Yeah, but the SX4, I think, was a two-door.
We were young, and somebody crashed one of those. We were out mudding. They crashed it off, drove it off the road into the tree when we were out in the mud, and they went... Somebody said, "Oh, the Eagle has landed. Put your beer down."
Yeah, it had landed hard, probably, I would guess.
Yeah, it did. At least it wasn't upside down.
My dad had acquired my brain's not working here. It was an AMX.
Sure.
With a 304 4-speed.
Yep.
And we had that we were trying to sell, and I drove that for a bit. That was a fun little car. You could do some fun things with that car.
Yeah. Yeah, the AMX was pretty cool. The Eagles were great. People said they were garbage. A lot of people did. And I think that's because they just had a few items that were problematic. The vacuum, there were so many vacuum lines with that 4-wheel drive. They had issues with that. And there were some electrical things, which a lot of the Chryslers were having in that day with that.
I think a lot of cars in that era did.
Yeah. So like I said, when they were a few years old, cars just wore out faster, and some were pretty poor. Like you take some of the cars like the XR4 Ti or and there were, I was looking at a list the other day on YouTube of old cars that were beyond their time. Full digital dashes. Well, take an 82 or 83 Chevy Berlinetta Camaro.
Oh, with the center stack and stuff.
Radio on the stock, digital
pod.
dash, the little flipper turn signal switch. All that stuff worked for what? A year? 2? The dealerships were screaming because before they're out of warranty, everything broke and they had to fix it over and over again. You had to be really gentle with them.
Well, the advent of all that technology, they were just eager to put it in. The Somerset Regals had the little pod.
And they had broken stuff on them. The Trofeo.
Yeah, the Trofeo, and then you had Lincoln on the other side. They had their Versailles and their
Lincoln Versailles.
And they were putting all kinds of digital stuff in them. They look like early supercomputers inside of them, but boy, did they have some problems.
Yeah, they were fun to have that much technology at that time.
It was a flex to show your friends if it had it.
Yeah.
The
first ones I saw were in the dark cruising on a Friday night. They drove their parents' car down.
Is that Knight Rider?
Yeah. The 86 Bonneville SSEI. I went,
yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. And then it was broke a couple years later. The Omni GLH turbo, it lasted about 6 months of hard driving with the way we drove them, and the Daytonas and the all those things.
Those advents of technology are interesting because you mentioned that, and yes, that's exactly what you looked over and like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And like I've got a Silverado truck, and they've got a very large screen in them with the bigger screen, and
two, right?
Yeah, there's one up here, and then I've got
the smaller one.
I got
the radio, and the dash has a screen.
It's all one. And when we get in there,
you don't have the radio over here with a screen and the dash over here with a screen. Center of the dash.
Yeah, the dash has got its
instrument
screen.
cluster.
Yeah, instrument cluster. Yeah,
That's
yeah. But people get in. I take my employees. We go out for reviews, and like, wow, that screen's huge. That's not distracting at all. It's just amazing. And now I wonder what's next. When you look at that, what we just talked about with the older stuff that was technology. What's next?
I don't know.
Virtual reality, and you're just sitting there and.
Well, they're experimenting with a lot of holographic screens now. Yeah. Like you see on all the TV shows, you'd see the hologram of something, you see right through it. And they're using those, even, I hate to mention it, but, the person that they're up on the stage now and then, and there's other stuff and voting and around them,
I saw at one of the Vegas shows, they had a Michael Jackson holograph that came out.
There you go. But I'm talking about the teleprompters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's not, yeah.
I didn't want to mention the words and have them, YouTube control stuff, but they have teleprompters that you see right through. The person on the other side can see them.
It's like a heads-up display?
Yep, but you can't see on the other side. First time I saw that, I was like, what are these? Windscreens, bulletproof something? And they're teleprompters. That was years ago. So we're starting to see that kind of projection stuff. But I'm talking about the projection without a screen type hologram. So we're going to see that kind of stuff at Disney. A lot of that technology is getting up there. But look at all those cars, Shannon. Pick any one of those cars we just spoke about. They've perfected it now. Now we've got 280 horsepower turbocharged 4-cylinders with full digital dashes, and they're going a couple 100,000 miles.
Yep.
They can do it if you don't beat them up.
They went from LCD to LED, or from
everything is changed and updated. So yeah, they've got some great. I don't know if it's great, but they've got some technology that's really come out. So yeah. Anyways,
fun stuff, and we are in the after show here. Just a quick note, I was going to talk about during the show. I didn't get to it, but if you're still tuned in locally, Sioux Valley Electric is doing their EV Expo on the 17th at 7 p.m.
Third annual, correct?
Yeah, down at the Swim-Empire Fairgrounds. You can go down there and check out the EVs that are available by motorcycle, car, maybe boat. I don't know. There's
bicycles,
all kinds of stuff. And then people that have EVs, bring them down and do a car show. And
they are starting to do some boats and things. I don't know if they're out there yet, full, but I've seen a number. They started with outboards. I saw a lot of electric outboards, and they were amazingly powerful for what they were. The problem is they've got it's electric, and you got water involved, and there's some things going on in there, but yeah.
Anyway, I thought I would mention that for those, they're good folks over there at Sioux Valley Electric, and wanted to mention their EV Expo coming up on the 17th at 7 p.m.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Energy, good old gasoline. Love it. Smells great.
I do like the smell. Always have.
I like the smell of Cam 2 racing fuel burning at the racetrack. That
Not going to disagree.
Or off the track, when you have that smell, it's because for us, it brings us back to a different time.
I used VP, so and then I think people still use that.
I don't know if it would have the same effect on people, that you've got to associate the smell with where you were. I remember what Volkswagen, I could smell it in my head without even being there. What does a Volkswagen Beetle smell like? They all smell the same, right? The old ones. The new ones don't. But the old 60s, 70s, they all smell. Even a Volkswagen Rabbit. Open a door on a Volkswagen Rabbit from the 80s.
I can smell it right now.
There it is, that horsehair, they called it, interior.
My sister had 2 of them, the Rabbit GTIs.
Yep. And, a Ford, a brand new Ford from the 70s, LTD. Yep, I can smell that.
GM cars had a certain smell,
and GM had theirs.
Yep.
It was there. Now, the new cars, they're pretty much all the same. A new Corvette or a new Lincoln, an Expedition or whatever, they'll have that kind of the same. And it's the material that gives that car its smell. But they had a distinction back in the day. Even my Model T. My Model T has a very distinct smell inside, and it comes from the seats because everything else is painted metal. But the seats had a horsehound interior with a old school leather on the outside, and that's one of the reasons I did not change the seats when I restored it, because I wanted it to be exactly like it was that I originally remember. I didn't want it to smell like Chinese fake vinyl leather inside. I wanted that original, even though it had some nicks in the seats. I was perfectly fine with it.
That's a good point about the smell. When you're a restored car versus, a highly restored car versus an original, you can tell the difference because they almost they restore the smell right out of it.
Oh, they do. They change it. It's completely different. There's nothing like the smell of, you get an old car and you get the smell of gear oil and the sound and everything. But when you restore it, a retro mod, you want it to be a mod. It's a retro look, but you want the mod, and it gives you a whole different thing. So, hey, everybody, reminder again, please, if you have comments, if you have questions, if you talk to us during the show and you want to comment, we like it when you follow up. It's great to know that our advice helped you. Comment on the YouTube channel. Just open it up. Comment. I don't even think you have to be a subscriber to do that. I don't think I've got that button clicked, but please like and subscribe if you would too. But those comments really help.
As soon as we hang up, make comments about how amazing that magic trick was.
You could do anything you want, but yeah, that'd be fine too. So everybody, will take care. We'll see you next